Got three more topics of interest tonight. Really liking that new intro music. All right, let's get started tonight. How's everybody doing? Hope you're having a good week. And tonight, trying something a little different. Let's see how this works out. I've got some reminders here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, number one, a single skill that billionaires say that 90% of the new population or the millennial population does not possess. Let's take a look here. Self-made millionaire says 90% of your success depends on this single skill. And young people are terrible at it. Gotta love it. Before I retired early at 35, I spent 14 years working in technology. In my senior management positions, I interviewed more than 100 candidates. A surprising amount of them didn't even make it to the second round. Excuse me. But being good at interviews isn't just about landing jobs. Knowing how to develop a rapport with people is crucial in so many facets of your professional life, such as navigating relationships, problem solving, getting clients, public speaking, and negotiating salaries and raises. I can't argue with that. Being able, and I know because I wasn't a person who got along early in my life with people, and it was very detrimental to me. And later on, I did learn my lesson. So I tend to agree with this person. Let's continue. Based on my experiences, 90% of your early successes boil down to your ability to nail job interviews. Unfortunately, most young people are terrible at it. Here are my 5 rules for getting it right. Number 1, there is no such thing as being overdressed. I see where this is going, and I already agree with it. I've seen people show up to interviews in a t-shirt and jeans while I was wearing a button-down shirt. Even if they were qualified in other ways, it showed poor judgment and a lack of consideration. I've never thought less of a candidate because they were overdressed. If you're unsure how professional your attire should be, ask your HR contact about the office dress code. Bringing a notebook and a pen will also help you look prepared and organized. I have seen this one thing, dressing properly for the occasion, in more ways than I can count. Not just at job interviews, but at work. Even when I wasn't the boss, I still dressed with either a polo shirt. I always looked a little bit nicer, and everybody thought I was the boss. Everybody treated me like I was a manager. I can attest to this. My current job, in fact, everybody treats me as the manager. I'm not even the supervisor currently. But it is a thing. Everybody looks at you different by the way that you hold yourself and the way that you dress. And I've seen the same thing on dates. I have seen millennials, younger people out there on dates. The girl is dressed very, very nicely, and the guy is just dressed in a t-shirt and board shorts. It's like, it's lost on these guys that she has taken a lot of time to prepare for this date. And what did you do? You show up as just like this sloppy bag of rags. It's just irritating. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, go out and buy a suit, but look nice. Take some time, look nice, make an effort. It makes all the difference in the world. All the difference. Be honest about where you can improve. Excuse me. When job interviewers ask about your biggest weakness, what they are really measuring is your level of self-awareness and problem-solving skills. The best way to answer is to be honest about where you struggle and what you've done so far to improve. For example, I tend to rush through projects and sometimes miss the small details, So I'm starting to move at a steadier pace and ask other team members for input. I kind of go back and forth on this one. I've seen this where it's actually can be held against you. So I wouldn't say my biggest weakness. I would give them something that's pretty superficial. I wouldn't give them something that's my biggest weakness. They don't need to know that. So, but yes, be honest with them. Not a problem there. Number 3, emphasize unique problem-solving skills. 2 interview questions I always ask. Tell me about a time when you solved a common problem using unconventional solutions. Number 2, describe a time when you failed. How did you manage the situation? Actually, being in the industry that I was in before what I'm currently in, which is building theme parks, everything was an unconventional solution, period. You learn to think on your feet very, very quickly, and you learn to make informed, most steadfast decisions on that. And sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes your decision is not right, but it's better to make a decision than no decision at all. And then when you fail, I completely own it. That's all there is to it. I've stood in front of a whole crew of people that I was responsible for and told them what I did wrong. That first couple times, it's shocking to people because it's not their fault. I take responsibility and I own it immediately. So yes, I will agree with this one. Describe how, just I own it. That's all there is to it. Let me continue. A lot of people get stuck on this because they don't want to talk about their mistakes. But I wasn't worried about them getting things wrong. Failure helps us get better. I was more interested in how they assessed failure and recovered from it, and how they would do the same on my team. Fair enough. Fair enough point. Always ask at least 2 questions. Never pass on a chance to ask a question at the end of an interview. I've hired people because they've asked insightful questions rather than bailing at the earliest opportunity. The best questions show that you want to be immediately valuable to the team and what you have, and that you have a growth mindset. A few examples. What's one challenge you regularly face at your job? What are the most pressing projects that need attention? Will there be opportunities for stretch assignments where I can learn and use new skills? Does the company offer training programs to employees? Good questions. Good questions. Make sure you follow up on those, though, if you do get hired by a company that you've asked any of these questions. Make sure that the HR people and your manager understand that and make them accountable. Don't let them slack, because if you don't chase after them, if you don't keep on top of them, they'll forget. They will. Number 5, bring engaging stories with you. One of the best indications that someone was a right fit for my team was their ability to tell a story. What are your most memorable work experiences? Maybe it's unexpected incidents to help you land you a client, or how you use humor to save your company from embarrassment. The best stories are engaging, unforgettable, and spark some emotion. Having a good story makes the interview process more interesting and enjoyable for everyone. So I've had a very fortunate portion of my life dealt in the entertainment industry, and I've done a lot of, like I said, building of theme parks. I've built 12 of the last major rides in theme parks, and probably the last going on 15 years on something like that. I've gotten out of that business, but I've also was in the special effects business. So I have plenty of stories on making 60-foot fireballs and burning people and blowing things up on a time schedule. So that one, yes, it definitely helps out, and it gets people in that mindset, and they engage with you because you're doing, in my case, I've done things that most people only dream of doing. That's not a humble brag or anything like that, but it's just a fact of my life, the things that I used to do. I've used to do pyrotechnics displays. I've put people on fire. I've blown up cars. These make for some really interesting stuff because people find it absolutely fascinating. So yes, have a good story. Don't make stuff up. Find what's unique to you that you can follow up on. So now, why did I even bother with this article? Because it comes down to your success and income and your abilities to set yourself straighten your own life. So if you're young and you're just starting out, then these are the things that you have to pay attention to. Be able to get yourself into good jobs, good paying jobs, how to get along with people. There are times where I have been asked by some of the employees that I've had to supervise and manage. They're putting up with certain situations. They say, "Garth, how do you do that? How do you do that?" And it's like, well, my mind is screaming one thing, but I have to be cognizant of what I say. Does it get better? Not really. But you just have to keep it under your breath and keep yourself very stoic and very, very concentrated and focused on the moment of what you're doing. Because, strangling people is bad. That's all I can say on that. Just joking. I'm not serious. But this does help set you up for your life. This does help you set yourself, excuse me, getting tongue tied here, get yourself set up for things in your early life so that when you start hitting into your 30s, you're set up with a good job and a career. That's important due to, well, it's actually the second thing on our list, right? There we go. If you're undateable, I'm getting used to this. You won't believe the salary that makes you undateable. So here again, getting along with people, being able to work with people, this helps you get into a salary range where as you start making money, now, yes, in the beginning, you're going to make crap money. That's just the point. When I was in high school, I used to be a dishwasher. I had to clean toilets at a country and western bar, wash the dishes. I took every crap job that you could ever figure out. Been there, done that. I think I have a t-shirt someplace. But anyways, you know what I mean. It's one of those things. It's how you start out. So if you're young and you're starting out, or if you have to start over again, start in an area and learn everything you can learn about that. When you enter into a situation, learn everything you possibly learn by it. Be the smartest person in the room. Don't be arrogant, but be the smartest person in the room. Understand what you're talking about. Understand the job. You'll most likely understand it better than anybody else. Just have that knowledge, be prepared. So that sets you up in your early 20s, going into your 30s. And that gives you a much better opportunity to set yourself up the rest of your life. Let's look into this article. While people usually don't start pulling out pay stubs on the first date, it'd be naive to pretend that income doesn't matter at all to potential partners. A massive salary certainly isn't a necessity. Lyle, yes it is. Maybe not. Depends on what you depend on massive, but a good salary. Remember, women want their partner to make at least 1.5 times what they make. So if you have $100,000 partner, she wants you to make it about $150,000. Rule of thumb. Remember, anytime a woman starts making more than you, she will lose respect for you and your relationship is on the rocks. Now, I know there's outliers and everybody's like, not always. And yes, I do have friends that are married to doctors and they're doing fine. But they're very level-headed women. They're few and far between. Understand that. But a low salary could be a deal breaker. And where people draw the line may surprise you. Americans say the minimum salary they're looking for a partner to make is $29,878, according to a survey by Western and Southern Financial Group. Okay, that is just over the poverty line. So I take issue with that dollar amount. That's not far off the median personal income, which is $37,522 in 2021. So if that's the median, it's safe to say that a sizable portion of the population is below that undateable threshold. Those are very low numbers. That might be the means average, but wow. Wow. Especially if you think about more women graduate college than men at this point in time. So that means they're not even going to come out of college, depending on what their majors are, at least at the $50,000, $60,000 mark. At least. I mean, I could see some occupations. Yeah, if you're starting out as a teacher or something like that, 37. Yeah, I can understand that. But wow, I think that is very, very low personally, because that is a pain point with a lot of women. That is a very much pain point, uh, making that kind of money. I mean, if you think about it, 37.50 an hour is about 16.50. Yeah, someplace around 16.50 an hour. That make 16.50. That's 32,000. Maybe about 17, $18 an hour on that. Yeah, $18 an hour would make $36,000 a year. So yeah, 18.50 an hour, someplace right in that range. That's like at Amazon. You can make that at Amazon without a college degree, and they're saying that's the bare minimum. Nah, a female wouldn't give you a second thought, second look, a second glance on that kind of a salary, especially working for Amazon. Let's continue. This doesn't mean that you should feel bad about your salary or that your choices or your chances of finding somebody are doomed, but it never hurts to raise your income, especially if it's currently on the low side. Now, yes, if you're just starting out, that's fine. Like I said, starting out, take what you can get, learn everything you can, and start to move up. Take every opportunity you can to move up. Forget about relationships, forget about females, and just go and make money. Actually, don't go and make money. Go and make experience and learn. You can have the crappiest job in the world, but if it's paying your bills, it keeps you off the street. And every job will teach you something. If it's the worst job in the world, it'll teach you a work ethic. If it's a job that's manual labor, believe me, here in the state that I live in, master electricians are making $130 an hour. Think about that. $130 an hour as a master electrician. Okay, it takes about 5 years to get there. Your first year is crap. It's a shit job. You're going to do everything and you have no choice of where you go. But once you study and you start learning, then you become a journeyman and you start working up from there and you start making good money. Very good money. So yeah, definitely put the time in. Forget about women. Put the time in. Where were we here? How to make more money. Making more money may seem like a daunting task. It's actually far more achievable than many people realize. There are all kinds of ways to earn more, so let's look at some of them. Ask for a raise. Well, they say the simplest option, ask for a raise at your current job. That doesn't mean it's the easiest option. Asking for a raise can be nerve-wracking. Yes, it can be. But here again, as I said, as you start becoming more knowledgeable at your job, then you can sit there and show your worth and ask for a raise. A lot of people just go and I need more money. Okay, but what are you doing for the company? What are you doing for us? I don't know. I just need more money. Remember, make yourself more valuable. Get to know every other job around you, everybody else's job. Then you can start moving up. Get a promotion, same thing. You start knowing everybody else's job and you can do it and you can cover for them and you start learning it. Okay. Then if you're just a regular employee, then you can start working your way into supervisor or lead supervisor management. So you can start taking opportunities, but those opportunities you have to create for yourself. Go and get some experience. Just remember, yes, I use Amazon because it's a crap place to work, but you can get a lot of experience there. If you're on top of your things, you can get yourself into lead supervisory positions and maybe a manager, and then take that and move someplace else. Take that experience and move someplace else. And the biggest thing I will say about this, one, at first, don't chase money. Chase skill sets. And number two, there's a difference between being boss and being bossy. Being the boss means you can get people to do things. They want to do things for you. That goes back to the earlier article that we were looking at over here. This article is talking about getting to know how to talk to people and relate to them. Well, once you start doing that, then people will want to do things for you. They will want to work for you. Why? Because you can relate to them. And believe me, don't use it as a tactic. You have to be in earnest. People can smell when you're trying to use it as a tactic. And what I mean by a tactic is, oh, well, if I do this, I get something back for that. It's always a tit for tat. Don't do that. Get to know people. Get to know what they do. Get to know who they are. And from there, you can start using that to move up. My current job, I know more about the people at where I work than the management team does. And that's a very sad thing to say. I know about their girlfriends. I know about their social lives. I know where they went on to vacations. I know what their aspirations are. We talk about a lot of things. The managers, to them, everybody's an asset. It's really, really sad. As we continue, go job hunting. If you feel undervalued where you work, start looking elsewhere. While some workers have success getting raises often, the best way to increase your salary is to change jobs. If you have a matching skill set, create the skill set. That is what you're looking for when you first start out. Your skill set is everything. Your hourly wage, if you're working hourly and you haven't hit salary yet, is only a metric by which you are paid. But you are not paid for your hours. You're paid for your skill set. Build your skill set. Launch a new business or become a freelancer. A great way to make more is to add a new source of income. Starting a small business is one option, and there's something that you can launch online, minimal startup costs, such as buying and flipping products, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, very true. Remember, this also works more for you in your early stages. If you're still living at home with your parents, launch a side business, but do that while you have a job. Because the skill sets that you learn at a normal job, you can now relate it to this. You start to understand things, and especially when you start understanding how money works. Yes, a lot of people don't want to understand how money works. They think what they bring in, they've got in their hands, that's what it's about. That's not the way money works. Learn about money. It's sometimes dry and boring, but learn about it. Why? Because everything around you is dependent on it. And also, here again, if you're in this early stage here, the females are not looking at you because you haven't developed yet. That's part of developing that skill set, building confidence, knowing what to do. Very, very important. Very, very important. Develop a profitable skills. There we go. We finally got to it. If you're in a low-paying job that doesn't offer advancement opportunities, consider working on skills that you can leverage into high income. You could pursue higher education, get a degree, or complete a certificate program. But there's also career paths you can enter with classes and other resources that are available online. It's easier to build your skill set, so make sure you take advantage. Okay, here they're talking about higher education. I wouldn't waste your money with higher education right now. I really, really wouldn't. The colleges are not preparing anybody for the real world out there whatsoever. The colleges now are a money-making enterprise. They want to put you in debt. They want to keep you in debt with the government, because once you get a student loan, that's covered by the government. The colleges made their money. They don't care what they've taught you whatsoever. Basically it's a puppy mill. It's really terrible. College is not a good idea. Get a practical skill set. Now, if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, yeah, go to college. Most definitely. That's what colleges are set up for. But anything else? What? You're going to get a humanities degree and become what? An HR person? Yeah, that pays you that $30,000, $32,000 a year, and it takes a long time to move up in that. Get your hands dirty. Get out there and learn what it's about, and then relate from there. Does a low salary really make you undateable? It may be disheartening if your income is below or near the minimum salary Americans say they wanted a partner to make. Keep in mind that 29,878 is just the average minimum number based on a survey response. It doesn't mean that everyone has the same salary expectations for a partner. No, they do not. Just go on Tinder. You can see, oh, I want the 6 6s. I want a man who makes, 6-figure incomes, got 6-pack abs, got 6 inches or better in the pants, 600 horsepower motor, car, because you can afford it. But yeah, most of the women that are out there, they expect you to do a lot better than that. But my advice to you is stay away from those women. Find the ones that are still grounded. Yeah, I think they're getting fewer and far between, but that's what you need to look for. Don't worry about the ones that need to party all the time, want to always be entertained, want to be taken out. Avoid those. Especially early in the game. You'll go broke. Let's see. The average income varies quite a bit depending on factors such as where you live, your age. It stands to reason that people in areas with a low cost of living, as well as younger adults, have lower salary expectations than people in high cost of living areas and older adults established in their career. Very much so. So I'll put the link to this in the show description, but you get the whole idea. That's the thing. Work on a skill set. That's the most important thing that you can do. Become a skilled person. Become invaluable in that respect. Skill sets you can always take with you and you can build. It's the most important thing, in my opinion, that you can do. So that leads us tonight to our Matrix update. That's right. I think I look forward to this most in the show here. What is our Matrix update tonight? Here we go, people. This is, bear with me on this. Whoops. What am I doing here? Sorry, wrong one. There we go. Banks might start closing accounts of customers who buy too many guns or too much ammo. And I can hear a lot of you already. I'm not a gun person. What are you talking about? Give me a little latitude. Go with me for just a minute here. For more than half a century, Uncle Sam has been giving banks the legal tools to snoop into otherwise private affairs of their customers. Now they're monitoring the exercise of their Second Amendment rights. All right, so right now, banks are beginning legal tools to get into your private business. And in this case, it's how many guns or how much ammo you buy. But, as always, once they have the tools, they never take them back. And then they always have a reason to go past and go further along and get more and more and more information. Right? So this is the problem. Thanks to a recent move by the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, headquarters in Switzerland, U.S. banks are starting to build databases on their customers' purchases of firearms and ammunition. And of course, they are ready and quite willing to share that information with federal law enforcement in the name of providing public safety to identify mass shooters. Okay, there are so many red flags right there. So many red flags on that. First of all, they're building a database. So if they have a database and it's standardized, what else are they going to put in that database or do a correlation with other databases based on your information? Right? So that's the biggest red flag, is the correlation of this. When they always say, well, we don't get all this information in one place, there's little piece, it's a total bull. Okay? It's very easy to correlate different databases. Very, very easy. And as they say here, they're quite ready and quite willing to share that information with federal law enforcement. That's the sharing information, bringing it all together. Guess what the law enforcement is going to do? They're going to put it in their own database. And now they start to build a profile. And what does that profile lead to? Well, here they say it's a public service to identify mass shooters. Okay, the amount of ammunition or guns you have does not make you a mass shooter. Your mental health issues make you a mass shooter. This is something that sticks in my craw. Everybody's sitting there thinking that because you have a lot of guns or have a lot of ammo that makes you a mass shooter. No, it is a mental health issue. When you have a mass shooter, that's the end result of it. And I'm probably going to get kicked off YouTube for saying mass shooter so many times. This invasion of privacy begins in earnest with the enactment of the Bank Secrecy Act of 1970, which mandated that banks assist federal law enforcement in uncovering, investigating, and ultimately prosecuting violators of federal law. So see how it started there, right? And it's very, very innocuous. It's very, very unclear. Okay, they mandated that banks assist federal law enforcement with uncovering, investigating, and ultimately prosecuting violators of federal law. Which federal laws? What are they looking at? Now, I have to look at the Bank Act of Bank Secrecy Act of 1970, but I bet you anything it has to do more with finances and drug dealers, trying to find out how they laundered money. Now we've moved that into, hey, how many bullets have you bought? How many guns have you bought? Next, it could sit there and say, how much alcohol have you bought? Because, a depressed person with a gun, not good. This is where they start making their own corollaries. And this never ends well. Let's continue. Banks have long complained about the burdens of compliance with the 1970 law and several related laws signed since then due to the multifaceted regulations they spawned. See? So the first law wasn't good enough. Now you're going to have multifaceted regulations. More and more regulations. They start with one thing and then they move a foot closer, another foot closer, but they never move a foot back. You can sit there and say, hey, stop. Oh, sorry. But they don't ever go backwards. They keep moving forward. These laws' main focus, according to the Treasury Department, which has primary responsibility to their enforcement, has been money laundering. Here again, drug deals, money laundering, etc. Over the years, however, the many-headed hydra we call the system now includes virtually any banking customer activity that the bank employees might consider to be suspicious. In fact, bank's primary tool in this regard is a document called the Suspicious Activity Report, or SAR. Wow, how about that? So if somebody finds what you do suspicious because they just got to get their nose in everybody else's business, well, then they can report you. Now, what happens if, let's just say you have a ex-wife or a breakup with a girlfriend, and she wants to get back at you, and she works at a bank? See where this is going? Then there's the U.S. Patriot Act passed in the immediate aftermath of 9/11 attacks. The vast reach of the Patriot Act has been a shot of adrenaline to the bank secrecy laws, creating new sets of problems for banking customers, especially those who operate lawful businesses overseas or engage in transactions with foreign persons or businesses. Banks have at times decided it's easier to simply close down accounts of customers with overseas connections rather than to run the risk of coming under suspicion from Uncle Sam. So, as in the previous article, we were talking about starting a side hustle. What happens if you start a side hustle and you have a lot of overseas clients? Well, now the bank would just rather just close you down than to deal with you. Why? It's easier. And they're afraid, very afraid. The paperwork required of any current or prospective customer of a financial services institute looking to borrow funds for a home, car, or other legal purposes has ballooned since the Patriot Act's passage. As troublesome as this absurdly massive paperwork business has become for home buyers and vehicle purchasers, the bank sector is now zoning in on something far more problematic: customers' exercise of their Second Amendment rights here at home. So you see, even the Constitution of the United States is at risk here. Right now, this is focusing on the Second Amendment, your right to bear arms. What about free speech? We know how cancel culture is. So if you have a bank employee and you're not saying the right things, they might put you under suspicion. And then you now have to deal with that because you were speaking in seditious terms or terms that they didn't agree with. And you know how cancel culture is on that. You can see how this gets out of hand very, very quickly. And this is why we need to head this off immediately. Do not put up for stuff like this. Yes, it's a pain in the butt. It really is. But just remember, if you don't say something, then they move on that. And they will not relent anything back to you. And it gets to the point where now they are deciding who gets what car. They decide who gets what house. They decide if you've gone too far as traveling, or maybe you don't need that kind of a house. Maybe you don't need, etc., etc. It doesn't stop. We have to stop this. Banks are devising ways to identify mass shooters before they strike. So basically, banks are now social psychologists that can figure this stuff out. That's impressive. Just how banks have gotten into the business of identifying potential mass, is linked to their ability to access purchase codes whenever one of their customers uses a bank-issued credit card. See, they're tracking you with the credit card. They track every one of your purchases with that credit card. Oh, what'd you buy here? Oh, what'd you buy there? And then they start building a profile on you. And then from a profile, you get to what is your psychological makeup. And if you think I'm being crazy here, just watch Hacked on Netflix. How it's the documentary on Cambridge Analytics in the last election during the Trump era in 2016. It will scare you. How they've taken the psychology of people and they've experimented with it all over the world. It is scary. And it's all based off all facts. Let's see. Banks are able to gather a database. Banks are able to gather and database such information and share any resulting suspicious purchases with the feds. How? Why? By submitting a SAR. One bank in particular has been in the forefront of the move to institutionalize credit card codes for gun and ammunition purchases, and now to database that information. Amalgamated Bank. Priscilla Sims Brown leading the charge. See, we have one person, Priscilla. She's leading the charge. She's going to make this a personal vendetta. So if you happen to see, and you can buy ammunition like 1,000 rounds. You get it on sale. It's a lot cheaper. If you're going off to the ranges and shooting, 1,000 rounds is nothing. You're not going to shoot it all in one day. No, of course not. But I've gone to the range and shot 200 rounds, 300 rounds. It's quite easy. But this, maybe Priscilla says, who needs 1,000 rounds of ammunition? And the other thing they don't look at is the fact that, let's say you buy 1,000 rounds 1 month, and then 3 months later you buy another 1,000 rounds. They think you now have 2,000 rounds versus, no, I've shot 3/4 of that and I'm getting low. So maybe I only have 1,200 rounds now total. They never take that into account. They just see it as, oh, you purchased 1,000 here, 500 there. Next thing you know, you're a psycho killer. You're a psychopath. Amalgamated is hardly alone in this effort and enjoys the support of gun control groups and major credit card companies, including American Express, Visa, and MasterCard. Not surprisingly, Democratic members of Congress led by Massachusetts Democrat Elizabeth Warren are eager to find ways to further expand the information that banks are able to gather from such credit card purchases. It probably won't be long before your friendly hometown bank will be filing even more secret suspicious activity reports with the feds, or simply closing down your account if it decides you are buying too many guns or too much ammunition. You see, it doesn't stop. Once they get a foothold, just a little bit, and then they magnify it, they magnify it, they magnify it. And they're sitting there going after a symptom, and they're not going after any kind of a problem. Okay, the end result is a mass you know what. But that's not the problem. The problem is people who have mental issues in this case. But think about it. Now that they have a database of one thing, they can just expand that database onto anything else that they wish. So if they want to sit there and get full profiles on everyone, and then build an algorithm about it, around that, think about how easy it is. An AI algorithm can profile you all of a sudden? No. This is getting out of hand, and we as people need to sit there and say, this needs to stop. Now, they might agree to certain things, but does that mean that they're going to stop entirely? No, they're just going to do it in the background. They're going to keep doing it. But we need to know about this. We need to start dealing with this, and we need to sit there and start making countermeasures against that. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. This type of thing I find extremely disconcerting that we've gotten this far along in such a short amount of time. And we just have to start finding different ways, different methods, and different organizations to stop this type of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Prying into our personal lives. Because they will decide what we are. And that means you're not deciding who you are. And I can see that happening. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for, I know this is kind of a long one. Apologize for that. But these are some important things that we have to sit here and discuss and really, really be aware of. And start looking at all the different aspects of this, because it's getting out of hand, and it's going to get out of hand very, very quickly. And I'm afraid it's a lot further along than any of us realize. So, once again, thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Please share this with others. Like I said, I really want to know your opinions on this. Put it in the comments below, and we'll see you soon.